Jenna saw that the knife was being pushed out from within as Beth's body rejected the foreign object, attempting to return to its default form. Seeing the knife ooze out and eventually clatter to the floor was almost too much for Jenna, who went to sit down. Ted offered everyone a drink, which was gratefully accepted. They sat, sipping their drinks, discussing what to do next. Ted was intrigued by how Beth's skin seemed to turn almost impervious under impact. "I'll bet you could withstand being shot at," he mused aloud. "Ted, you are not going to shoot her just to test your theory," Jenna retorted adamantly. Ted looked up in surprise. "Oh, I don't need to do that. If she can withstand the knife at the pressure I applied, she can definitely take a bullet." "But a bullet is faster and has more energy behind it," offered Beth, deciding to make her point. "True, but a bullet has a much greater surface area at impact than a knife point. Its resistance is minimal, compared with a knife," Ted replied. "It's pressure times cross-sectional area we're talking about. Remember, I put my full strength against you, without so much as a scratch." "Well, I think we know what we need to know." "Is there anything else?" asked Jenna, still somewhat shocked from the knife test. "I wonder if Beth can use that ability another way," Ted murmured, more to himself than to the others. "What way?" asked Beth, wondering. "I was thinking if you were to hit something with your fist, for example, you shouldn't feel the impact because of the skin resisting the hit. But the energy would still be transferred. Like having your hand act like a hammer," Ted shrugged. "Do you want to try it?" Beth thought about it for a moment before agreeing. Knowing she was safe from knife attacks made her feel much happier, so finding out if she could fight back with her fists, despite a smaller, more vulnerable physique, seemed logical. They trooped out into Ted's backyard. In the dim light from the small garden lights Ted had turned on, they saw a low retaining wall made of cement blocks. It was part of a division in the garden and had seen better days. Ted proposed that Beth try to hit the wall with her fist, using all of her strength. Beth looked at the wall for a moment, pretending it was Martin standing there, before lashing out with her closed fist. Her shout of "bastard" as she swung startled the others. What happened next left them amazed. Her fist, on hitting the wall, didn't stop but went through it, catching Beth off balance as the blocks exploded into rubble. Ted looked at the wall, hardly believing his eyes. The block Beth had hit was gone, shattered into bits. The surrounding blocks had cracked, and the section of the wall near the impact was leaning outward. "Whoa! Did I do that?" gasped a shocked Beth. "I didn't even feel it." "Did you ever?" was Ted's equally shocked response. "My God, it's like Wonder Woman or Supergirl," squealed Jenna, hopping up and down in excitement. "We need to buy you a cape and a superhero costume," she added, laughing. "All your energy focused together with a fist of steel." "It's better than a Din Mac," Ted grinned. "Din Mac?" chorused the others in puzzlement. "It's a martial arts technique, more commonly known as the death touch," explained Ted. "I think we can safely say Beth will be pretty hard to hurt. But she can definitely hurt others if need be." Still pretty hyped up over her fight with the poor defenseless wall, Beth was in a giggly mood, which made Ted and Jenna smile at each other. They both knew Beth was feeling down about the impending Martin issue. These tests had given Beth a much-needed morale boost. As time was getting on, they decided that was enough, and soon Beth was being driven back to Jenna's place after she had kissed Ted on the cheek in thanks. "Feeling better now?" "Yes, Jenna, I am," replied a happy Beth. "I think you like Ted more than you let on," smiled Jenna, glancing at Beth sidelong. "Do you think Ted has nice eyes?" murmured Beth, only half hearing Jenna's comment. "More importantly, do you?" Jenna replied, neatly sidestepping the question. "Oh yes, I feel like I could stare at them all day," blushed Beth, suddenly realizing what she had admitted to. "I mean, no need to explain to me, girl." "I think the same thing with Richard's eyes," grinned Jenna, reaching one hand out to pat Beth reassuringly on the knee. "None at all." Inside, Jenna was happy. Beth was beginning to see Ted in a romantic light, which was how it should be, she thought to herself. When Jenna brought Beth home from work the next day, an unfamiliar car was in the driveway. Beth was nervous, seeing it there and wondering what danger it might hold. She was surprised by Jenna's reaction when she spotted it. "Yippee!" she screamed, as she rushed out of the car and raced inside. "Harumph," grumped Beth, feeling a little put out at being left out of the loop and abandoned in the car. Whoever it was, obviously Jenna knew them and hadn't thought to reassure Beth, or tell her who it was. Beth, in a fit of pique, decided to wait to see how long it would take before someone noticed she hadn't come inside. She was just starting to fume when Jenna poked her head out the door to see what was holding up Beth. She waved at Beth, trying to get her attention, but Beth deliberately looked away, feeling tears prickling under her lids as her emotions threatened to get the better of her. Jenna came over, sensing something was wrong. She opened Beth's door and asked her what was wrong. "I was scared, and then you left me alone." Beth tried to explain, before she burst out sobbing as her mixed-up feelings of abandonment and turmoil flooded out in a paroxysm of emotion. "Oh, you poor dear, I'm so sorry." "I wasn't thinking," Jenna apologized, tears filling her own eyes as she held the sobbing Beth to her chest, stroking her hair as if she were a little girl. The tableau held for a few minutes as Beth released her bottled-up emotions and Jenna continued to murmur quiet reassurances. "Hey, sis. Who's your friend?" A throaty but feminine-sounding voice interrupted the two embraced women. Jenna pulled back, raising Beth's chin with her fingers so she could look into her eyes. "Beth, Shelley, my sister is here. That's her car. I haven't seen her for 6 months and I got overexcited and forgot how it might look having a strange car in the driveway. Can you forgive me?" Beth reached out a hand, nodding, still too emotionally worked up to speak coherently. She felt foolish for being childish and getting worked up over nothing. Although it felt like a big deal at the time, she realized she had let things build up to a dangerous level where any little thing could spark an emotional storm. Beth allowed Jenna to help her out of the car to meet her sister Shelley. Standing halfway between the house and the car was a tall strawberry blonde woman in casual dress. She hadn't approached too closely once she realized her sister and the other woman were dealing with some emotional outpouring. That was something she was very familiar with, as she and her sister had weathered many of those during her transitioning period. She could see the dark-haired woman was trying to recompose herself, although her smudged makeup and tear-streaked face remained a mute reminder of the intensity of her outburst. Looking at Shelley more critically, Beth could see a few small signs of her original masculine features. The slightly too large hands and feet, plus the slight bulge of her Adam's apple, might not be obvious to someone on the street, but knowing she used to be a man helped Beth notice the subtle differences. Shelley had a nice shape, although her hips might have been a little narrow. Obviously, hormones can only go so far to pad them out, but with her height, it seemed to work. At least, the first glance said woman, and the second, Beth decided, as Shelley smiled at her. "Hi, I'm Shelley, in case my forgetful sister didn't tell you," she smiled and stuck her tongue out at Jenna, who was about to protest. "Beth Winslow," she replied, liking this lanky woman already. "Nice to meet you at last, Jenna has told me about you," Beth added with an answering smile. Jenna was quietly sputtering in the background, trying to get a word in, before she decided to just stick her own tongue back out at her sister, which made Shelley smile even more. "Did she tell you all about me?" Shelley asked pleasantly, as if the answer mattered little. Yes," Beth answered, not sure if it was rude to be checking Shelley out so carefully. Shelley laughed, seeming to take that in stride. She did a little twirl so Beth could see all of her. Beth blushed, embarrassed, although she did take the opportunity to check out Shelley's figure. Beth walked closer to shake Shelley's hand, but was instead hugged tight. Beth could smell a light feminine perfume on Shelley and made a mental note to ask her later what it was. Another set of arms came around the pair as Jenna snuggled in. "Room for another in here?" she asked quietly. Her answer was unspoken, as Beth and Shelley broke one set of arms to include Jenna in a three-way hug. They broke apart and headed inside. Beth pulled Jenna aside to apologize for her childish tantrum, saying she didn't know what came over her. Jenna pooh-poohed the apology, saying, "Everyone gets one of those days." Jenna's eyes opened wide in realization when she said that. A look of wonder and joy filled her eyes as she told Beth to get her face repaired while she went to get something. Beth was wondering what had caused that look in Jenna's eyes while she went to fix her face in her bedroom. Jenna came in and dropped a packet on the bed as Beth had made some headway on the ruined makeup. "What's that?" she asked, not seeing the label from where she was sitting. "Oh, just something for the visitor that's coming," was the evasive answer. "A present?" "Not exactly, it's for your monthly visitor," Jenna replied, waiting anxiously for the outburst. "My monthly visitor? Oh, you mean no, you mean," stuttered an ashen Beth, as the idea of dealing with a monthly cycle entered her mind. "Crap? Close, but it's the other, you know," Jenna smiled, trying to make light of the situation. "You realize this means you're fully a woman now, everything's working as it should be. You should be happy that you're not a something in between anymore." "Oh, that's not the reason for the curse, it's just its timing, what with everything else happening right now," Beth explained. "Is that why I am feeling more emotional now, I mean, more than usual?" "Yes, it is, but I'm sure you'll handle it when it arrives. At least you have me here to help. Do you know how to use tampons? Or would you rather I go and buy some pads?" "I'm sure tampons will be okay," Beth replied, blushing at the topic of conversation. "Is there a special method to using them?" she asked, deciding to be open and willing to listen to advice. "I'm kind of new at all this," she laughed, feeling somewhat embarrassed. Jenna was pleased that Beth was being open on the subject of feminine hygiene. It couldn't be easy for someone who hadn't grown up with it to ask for help. It showed how far Beth had come in accepting being a woman. A funny thought came into her head, which made her giggle. "Hey, this must be hilarious for you," Beth said wryly. "You get to see a guy go through this." "That wasn't what I was giggling about, but you're right. A great many women would love to see their boyfriends or husbands deal with this, aren't I lucky?" she laughed, hugging Beth to show she wasn't being mean. "What I was thinking of was, with your new acceptance of being a woman, I was guessing that you'd even get out a map if you got lost driving." It took several seconds while Beth sorted out what Jenna had meant, before she burst out laughing hysterically. She nearly fell off the seat she was sitting on as tears rolled down her cheeks, ruining her makeup again. Shelley came bursting in to see what was going on, and was puzzled by seeing more tears from Beth. "At least these are happy tears," she thought. She was further puzzled by Beth as she accepted Jenna's assistance in redoing her makeup, as that brought back similar scenes from her own first attempts. "Shelley, we have to talk, I'm afraid we've been keeping a big secret from you. Let's go into the lounge where we can tell Richard at the same time." "There's no way we can keep this quiet now, Beth. We need to lay all our cards on the table, okay?" Jenna pleaded, looking at Beth's concerned expression. Beth nodded and stood, feeling a bit like the lamb being led to slaughter. Shelley was stunned. Big secret? Was Jenna a lesbian and having an affair with Beth? It couldn't be the other. A quick thought that Beth was like her, a trans woman, flashed across her mind when she saw Jenna helping with Beth's makeup. It had sparked that idea for a second, before being dismissed. No way. Beth was all woman, that was for sure. She followed them out into the lounge where the others were already sitting, waiting for her. "Richard darling, and Shelley, what we are going to tell you must be kept secret at all costs. Before I start, I'm going to tell you something. Beth is having her first period, which is why she may get rather emotional while we tell you her story. Bear that in mind and remember she is just as real a woman as I am," Jenna stated seriously. Shelley was even more confused, although Richard hadn't picked up on the lie. Beth couldn't just be having her first period at her age. She wondered why her dear sister was starting with such an obvious fib. Jenna started to speak, telling them the unbelievable tale of Colin's transformation into Beth. Beth added her part to the story as time went on. Both Richard and Shelley were stunned beyond belief as the tale unfolded. Both Jenna and Beth sat back and waited for their reactions when they were done. "There's more to this than you're telling," Shelley said astutely. Jenna grinned at her sister. "You were always able to tell when I was hiding something, even more so since." She left the rest unsaid. "There is more, but for now I want to hear your questions or opinions. Does what we've said change the way you perceive Beth?" "Not a bit, she is welcome in this house and I'll do everything I can to help," Richard stated emphatically. Jenna hugged her husband and kissed him on the cheek. Just for that, I think I'll keep you, she giggled. Beth's having her period? Oh boy, I envy you, you lucky thing. That was one of my dreams before I even started on this road. Shelley sniffed, crying out her frustration. Welcome to the other side of the fence, sister, she added, hugging Beth tightly. Oomph. Not so hard, honey, even with these airbags, you'll do me damage with that hug, gasped out Beth, looking down at her chest. Besides, I'd trade you the periods for that lovely hair of yours. Done. Shelley squealed, tearing off her wig and arranging it on the head of a gobsmacked Beth. Shelley's hair was still blonde but cut short in a bob, which changed her whole look. Shelley! What did you do to your lovely hair? Gasped Jenna. You cut it off, why? You aren't the only one with a secret, sis, Shelley replied shamefacedly. I lost the hair from chemo, I had cancer, she whispered into the stunned silence of the room. Shelley, screamed Jenna, rushing over to grab hold of her sister, tears flooding out in a torrent as she sobbed against Shelley's chest. Sorry, Jenna, I couldn't tell you. I was already being treated when you saw me last. That's why I haven't visited or asked you to visit me, Shelley explained slowly. I have to go back soon to see if the cancer has gone. It was breast cancer, sis, they wanted to remove them, but I said no. I wasn't going to give them up, not after wanting them for so long. Ironically, they reckon it was the HRT that made me prone to the cancer, she finished, holding Jenna at arm's length. Oh sis, you silly girl, you should have told me, Jenna insisted. I thought about it, but what could you have done except worry? Shelley shrugged ruefully. Well, luckily we can do something about it, right Beth? Jenna smiled, looking at Beth for confirmation. When Beth smiled and nodded, Jenna went on to explain her idea. Oh my, this can't be true, tell me you're not just pulling my leg, Shelley cried, tears starting to leak from her eyes. Hey sis, it's me, would I be that cruel? Jenna smiled as Shelley enveloped her in a hug. What about the cancer, will I be free of that too? Shelley begged, hoping against hope that it would be so. Yes, you will. Cancer isn't carried in the DNA, it's an outside agent. Having your body reset, the risk will only be the same as for any woman, as no hormones other than those you produce normally will be in your body, Jenna confirmed. Oh wow! When can we get started? Well, I've contacted Sarah Britton, a friend of mine who's an expert in genetics, Jenna explained. She said she would come as soon as she arranged care for her daughter. Great, I seem to remember her, Shelley commented. Wasn't she that brunette who used to stay with you on campus? Shelley. Sheesh, you're a woman now, or supposed to be. Don't use the word stacked, like you were a guy, Jenna admonished, poking her sister with a finger. Hey! Shelley squeaked, dodging the reproving digit. It's not my fault she has a great figure. Remember I was still mostly a guy then, it was one of those things that stuck in my mind. I used to dream I could look like her, Shelley offered, demonstrating with her hands the classic hourglass shape. If you don't watch out, she might give you a more prominent figure and a belly to match, giggled Jenna, gently ribbing her sister. Ouch! Point taken, she can't do that, can she? I mean, select body shape? Shelley asked, looking decidedly worried at the prospect of looking drastically different. Sis, she's going to remove the Y from your chromosome and double up on the X. That should make you look something like me, only not as pretty, chortled Jenna as she teased Shelley. I'll look like you? I guess I can live with it, for now, or until something better comes up, smirked Shelley, giving as good as she got. Beth watched this byplay with amusement, happy to see the obvious love between the two siblings. She wondered, a little sadly, what it would have felt like to have had a sister of her own. She then realized that she did have one. Jenna was like the sister she never had, in the way she treated her and the fun they had been having together. Tears started to trickle down her cheeks as she thought how truly lucky she was. Jenna, ever vigilant, noticed Beth's wet face first. She rushed over and hugged her, asking what was wrong. Nothing at all, sniffed Beth, trying to get herself together. I just realized how lucky I am to still be alive. Beth lost her life, and now that I'm living her life for her, I've gained so much, You treat me like a sister, and having never had one before, it's really overwhelming. Seeing you two teasing each other shows the love I've missed by being an only child. Well, girl, prepare to be sisterfied to death, promised a relieved Jenna. If I'm going to be your sister, you realize I come as a package, she giggled, looking pointedly at Shelley. Welcome to the family, greeted a smiling Shelley. The more the merrier, I say, as she added her hug to the teary-eyed Beth. Just then, a knock on the door interrupted the conversation, and Richard went to see who it was. Moments later, he was back leading Ted, whose arms were full of cartons of delicious-smelling food. He put the food down on the table and looked at Jenna. You've fed me several nice dinners here, so I thought I'd return the favor. I bought Chinese, just as well I brought plenty, he smiled as he saw Shelley for the first time. You must be Shelley, the resemblance is remarkable, he complimented, smiling as she blushed in return. Ted looked around. Seeing Beth, his eyes widened. Is this a blonde convention? He asked, noticing the wig Shelley had on Beth's head. If so, I'd better scram, he grinned. Oops, I forgot I was still wearing it, blushed Beth in embarrassment, reaching up to remove it. Hey! Sis, stop, called Shelley, shaking her head. Keep it on for now, as part of your initiation into the sisterhood, she laughed. Giggling, she ran out of the room to return moments later with 2 more blonde wigs in different styles. At Jenna's raised eyebrow, she explained. After I lost my hair, I splurged and got several different wigs in different styles so I didn't need to keep changing the first one. Here, put this on, she demanded, handing a wig each to Richard and Ted. After some persuasion and a lot of giggling, everyone in the room was blonde. Okay, now everyone in the sisterhood is ready, let's eat, Shelley insisted. Just then, a sleepy, bemused Kathleen stumbled in, sniffing the air and headed straight toward the food Maggie held tightly in her arms. As Kathleen realized there were visitors, she raised her eyes above food level and peered out from under her tousled blonde bangs. She was taken aback at first, seeing Shelley, but then realizing something else, she started to giggle. Why's Daddy, Uncle Ted, and Auntie Beth wearing Mommy's hair? She whispered in Jenna's ear, shyly backing away from Shelley, but still trying to peek at her from behind her mommy. It's a kind of game, honey. It was your Auntie Shelley's idea. The hair is just wigs that your Auntie Shelley wears, explained Jenna, urging Kathleen to go and give Shelley a hug. You must have grown a lot of hair to make those wigs, Auntie Shelley, Kathleen said shyly, slowly advancing toward her new aunt. I guess I must have kinda did, laughed Shelley, moving forward and scooping the kid up in the air, where she held the wriggling child at face level. Do you gotta wait for more hair to grow before you make another wig? She asked innocently, reaching out and touching Shelley's short hair. Sure do, honey, but I think the next lot I'll keep, Shelley responded easily, taking the awkward question in stride. I'm hungry, are you? She asked, putting Kathleen down on the floor. Food was served out, each to their own tastes. Beth filled Ted in, between bites, on what had been discussed before he arrived. Ted was pleased that Richard was in the loop now, so they didn't need to talk behind his back about everything. He was also pleased Sarah would be on the scene soon, what with the shadow of Shelley's health looming close. Begging off the invite to stay, Ted left, saying the sisters had a lot of catching up to do, and he was feeling tired. Beth saw him to the door, and before he went outside, she stretched up and kissed him.